Hey there. If you've watched any of my recent videos, you know that I've been kind of getting into making my own gear with a few different projects here and there. And so far, most of my projects have been made on my Singer 4423 heavy duty. I've also made a few projects on a Nelco 350R, which is just an old all metal machine I picked up off of Facebook for like 40 bucks. And it's been kind of my go-to for the extra heavy stuff I've made. So anything that I didn't think the Singer could punch through, or if I was worried about it, just because it's all metal, I don't have to worry about messing it up. Which, if you've watched some of my videos on my Singer 4423, you know that I've had to reset the timing on it because I did get a little overzealous in one of my projects. However, I recently picked up this Singer 111W101, which is an industrial combo feed machine, which means in addition to the walking foot, it also moves the needle to pull the fabric through. I actually got a screaming deal on this, and I'll share the story about that at the end of the video, but I just kind of wanted to show it off here and say that there's going to be a lot more make your own gear stuff coming up. So if you're into that, please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll get on with my story. So the story behind this machine is a local canvas shop closed recently. I'm not sure if the owner passed away or if they just retired, because when I went to get this machine I couldn't get a whole lot of information on it. The way this all started out is they did have like a garage sale type thing where they sold off all of their like remnants and scraps, and they were selling off their old machines. I went to that a few months back, and all of the machines were well out of my price range, because while I do a lot of sewing these days and I've been doing a lot of more and more make your own gear projects, I just couldn't justify a couple $100s on a machine when I already have, when the Singer 4423 really does 99% of what I needed to do, and I had the Nelco for anything that it couldn't do. So when I went there, I couldn't afford any machines, but they did have several boxes of vinyl remnants, and they were like $5 for this big box of remnants. And the thing about it is, a place that makes awnings and trailer tarps, stuff like that, a remnant is something like a foot by like 10 feet or 2 feet by 3 feet. I mean, for small projects, it's great, right? So they were listing some of the old machines, and I tried to get one, but it was gone in like 3 hours for $100. And then I wasn't able to get that one, so I kept an eye on the seller, and they were selling all the other boxes of vinyl that didn't get sold, like the one I got, for 20 bucks for the entire lot. So I was like, sure, I'll get that. So I show up there, and they have this and two other machines. They've all been marked down to 50 bucks because they're trying to get them out the door, and none of them are in working condition, right? So one of them is just the body. It's just a shell. There's no parts in it, and that one's really of no use to me. Another one was another old Singer. I'm not sure what model, but it was a double needle machine, and that was, again, no interest to me. And they said that it was, according to one of the repair guys who looked at it, it was stuck, and he could repair it, but it wasn't worth his time to repair it to use because he already had something that did it. And so I kind of passed on that one. And there was this one, which they didn't know anything about, other than the fact that it had been sitting in the corner for years, just unused. The table that was on, which is this table, didn't have a motor with it, so the gal selling it said I could swap it out to the table with the shell on it that did have a motor, and if I wanted to. So looking at it, I tried it out. This machine wouldn't fit in the other table, because it was off by like 1/8 of an inch or something like that, just enough where it wouldn't mesh up. And she went off to help somebody else who was loading up these giant cardboard barrels of 2-inch strap. There was like 8 of these barrels that was just full of 2-inch nylon strapping, which I really regret not being able to grab, but hey, whatever. I also didn't want to have to make 2 trips into town. So as I'm looking at this, they're trying to figure out how they're going to get all these loaded, because these are kind of it's kind of two older gals and an older gentleman, and they're not sure how they're going to get these into the truck. So she comes back over to check on me, and I say, I'll give you $60 for the vinyl, this table, this machine, and the table with the motor on it, because for me otherwise it just wasn't worth it, because if I didn't have a motor, then why even bother? So, and she tells me that she'll give me both tables and the machine for $50 and the vinyl for free if I help them load, because they're not sure what they're gonna do. So I go over and help them load. It takes about half an hour, no big deal. Get them all tied up, and we get both tables loaded and the machine loaded, and the vinyl's all piled up, and I start loading that. And of course, she's so happy that I helped load this stuff, and I helped her out with a couple other things while I was there, that she offered me like all these other odds and ends. So I ended up with a whole bunch more of this awning material, which is not quite the heavy duty vinyl that I got originally, but it's definitely would be great for Lord knows how much. And she actually offered me a whole awning that was cut but not done yet, and I regret not taking it, but I just didn't have room in the truck that day, and she wasn't going to be back, so it is what it is. I got this thing home, and basically all it needed was a set. I needed bobbins, a new needle, and then the set screw to hold the needle in. And then I found out later I was missing 2 thread guides. One of them I've got on the way, and I fabricated one out of a paper clip because the threads in the hole here for it are the same as the needle retention screw here, and so I was able to just fabricate that and save myself $12. Unfortunately, with the motor that I got, it's a 3-phase 220 volt motor, and I do have 220 volt in my garage, but I do not have 3-phase, so the motor's no good to me. So I got looking online, and I found a servo motor for about $120 on Amazon. I'm hoping it works out well. It had pretty good reviews, and it looks like it should serve all my purposes. Plus, it's a 3/4 horsepower, where the old motor was only a 1/2 horsepower, and the old motor was also a clutch motor. So, like, I have all the benefits of a servo motor. It's quieter, it's more energy efficient. I can set the RPMs and stuff like that. So I'm hoping that'll work out well. And the other thing about it was I looked at the cost of buying some heavy duty casters and building a frame, because the plug in my garage is right by the garage door, so I don't really want to leave this in the way where you can't get a vehicle in and out of my garage. So I'd have to wheel it in and out every time I wanted to use it, let alone deal with the elements, like if it's cold out or it's hot out or whatever. So just the casters alone for something heavy duty was going to be, $10 a caster, so you're looking at $50. Well, there you're almost halfway to the servo motor, so I think that's going to work out well for me. It's still on the way, so I will do a video on the installation of that and what I have to do. I may have to open up the hole for the belt here a little bit, just because while this machine fits in this table, I'm thinking it may not have been the original table, because it just doesn't quite line up here. I've learned quite a bit about this machine just tinkering with it, getting it cleaned up, getting it oiled. And that was the other great thing about it, is once I cleaned this thing up, oiled it up, and put that set screw in, it sewed. I've only done it by hand so far, but it punched through the vinyl. I did up to 10 layers of the vinyl that I got, and that's way more than I'll ever need to do, because it barely fits underneath the foot, but this thing didn't even sneeze at it. And another kind of entertaining thing for me is that the thread that I got, that I've been using, my heavy duty thread for all of my other projects, on my 4423 heavy duty, if something binds up, that machine just stops. Like, this thread is plenty strong where I have to cut it out of there to get things undone. This, if I'm going along and I've got some momentum on this wheel so far, it just snaps this stuff, which really says to me like how powerful this machine is. So I'm hoping it does well for me. I'm planning on making a couple of packs and a tent and a few other things. I've got a cousin of mine wants me to make him a custom tent to go over his motorcycle when he's out doing that, so that's going to be an interesting build to design and everything, so I'll update you all on that. The other thing I'm going to have to install on this, or have to get for this, is the knee lift. The other table did come with a knee lift, but it was built into the frame, that like there's a metal frame that went into the hole, and there was a oil catch and all that on there, so I'll have to buy one of those, but those are cheap, like $10-15, and I don't necessarily need it because I can always use the lever in the back. It's just I would like a knee lift on this, because I've seen them on a lot of videos that I've watched about these different machines, and I really like one. Another quirk of this is that it does not have reverse, but there's a couple ways around that. I know Alexander Dreyer and Jason of All Trades have both put out videos on how to handle not having a reverse on your machine. You either, one, if you're sewing a seam that's going to get that's going to get crossed by another seam later. You don't have to worry about it. Or you can lift up the foot, back it up, and then sew it down again, which it leaves a little bit of a tag there, but it's one way of doing it. The other way, if you want to look clean, you can flip it around, sew backwards, and then flip it back. And the last way would be to just lift up the foot, hold it in place, and let it do like 3 stitches in place. It leaves a knot on the bottom when you do that, but on the top it still looks pretty clean. It's gonna be a learning experience to see what works best for me, but I'll let you all know when I'm doing that. I guess the last thing about this machine is the reason it's called Diane is the story I heard is back in 1972 the owners of the shop's husband gave it to her, and so it's been around for a good long while. It's already 50 years old, and the 101 series is, I don't know how old, because all the videos I've found on this and all the information is usually about the 111W155. So if I find any quirks, I'll update you all with that too. I'll probably do a video on how to thread this at some point. I found the manual and printed it out, so it's hard to read, but I'll see what I can help with that. So if you found this video helpful or informative, or if you have any projects you'd like me to try and do on this thing, so that if there's something you guys want to see me do, leave a comment down below, and then like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.